Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That's Public Access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. To my far right, Bob Boyd. Next to me, Pat White. My far left, Bud Supple. And as always, Earl Murphy is here in the house. Happy homecoming, everybody. It's homecoming week here in Iowa City at the University of Iowa. They've got Indiana coming to town for an 11 a.m. kickoff. Unfortunately, on ESPNU, which a lot of people don't get. So go to the game. The parade starts, what time Friday night? 6?
6:30.
Yeah. Look, the weather looks like it's going to be all right. And we're coming off a bye week. What'd you guys do this weekend? Did you watch football? Did you do yard work, catch up on your chores?
I did watch games from 11 till 9 o'clock at night. That was the best week of football games that I've ever seen.
There were some remarkable games,
Because that was
some
for
big
the
upsets.
underdogs, right?
I heard a statistic that I can't remember accurately, but since they've been keeping a top 25 poll, there's never been a week when 8 teams in the top, I want to say 12 or 15, lost.
Yeah.
And that's what happened on Saturday.
And what was it, 5 out of or 6 of the top 10 or something like that?
I think the Alabama game was most prevalent.
Oh, it was exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That was exciting.
Boy,
I
didn't you
watched
feel
that.
good, though, when Alabama got beat?
Yes.
Huh?
And I felt good for the Mississippi fans. It'd been since Archie Manning,
Oh, man.
1962, since they'd
Believe
beaten
that.
Alabama.
And to think the same day you have 2 Mississippi teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upset
And both
me.
of them ranked.
That's right.
They're both in the top 10.
They're 3rd and 4th.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, and that's an interesting story in itself. But you know what? What surprised me Saturday, on our bye week, is 11 o'clock. I turned on the Big Ten channel, and I thought, wow, what are they playing?
Yeah. Volleyball.
Volleyball. Oh, wait a second. Hold it.
I know, that is so.
I
I must have the wrong
Oh,
channel.
That's terrible.
I don't get that.
I don't get that either.
They
I mean,
could have,
And it was tape delay. It wasn't live.
Yeah, I mean, let's promote volleyball, that's fine, but
Right.
on a football Saturday, are you kidding me?
and to me, the best game of all of them. Of course, I don't care for Wisconsin, but it was Northwestern or Wisconsin. That gives them 2 losses.
Yeah.
But it gives them 1 loss in the Western
I
Division
know.
and Nebraska,
Yeah.
1 loss. So no, that could be huge down the line.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
Michigan State about blew the lead against Nebraska.
Wasn't that something?
Yeah. I didn't see that. I watched some of it live, but I didn't catch the end of it.
Well, you know what, I turned to a different channel when
Yeah.
it was 27-9 or
Yeah.
whatever it was. And I heard the score the next day, I couldn't believe it.
Pat, what'd you do with your Saturday?
Well, I didn't see as much TV as you did. As Bob knows, my sister Ann Auer and her husband Dave were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and so we spent most of the day with them. And so I saw some.
Yeah.
games,
That's pretty
but
significant. Where'd you
it
celebrate?
was. Well, they celebrated in the afternoon at St. Pat's in their social hall, and
Uh-huh.
then they had a family get-together in the evening out at Old Chicago.
See,
Wow.
I was there at the social hall, Ann and Dave
Yeah.
Auer, it was Ann White Auer.
Right.
They were classmates, and one of the first couples to get married in our class, they were high school sweethearts.
Is that right?
So I was only, Pat had all day, Judy and I were there for a couple hours, but
Was
I
a good
told
day.
Ann and Dave that as far as I'm concerned in our class, they were the gold standard.
Oh.
Yeah,
They're-
50 years, they should be proud.
They're
Well,
good
happy
people.
anniversary, Ann and Dave. That's great.
Yeah, they're good
50
people. and
years.
Nice family.
High school classmates.
Yeah.
Did they marry right out of high
I
school?
believe they were 19, weren't they?
Yeah,
Pat?
about a
Little over a year?
about a year.
Yeah,
And they're still together. That's
Yeah.
just wonderful.
Good family, 3 boys.
yep.
Include their oldest boy is the one who's the head basketball coach at Wichita Heights down in Kansas and won 60-some
You've mentioned
consecutive
him
games.
before.
4 straight state championships.
Yeah.
Coach Perry Ellis, who starts for Kansas now,
Wow.
and a young man who also starts for Wichita State, whose name is.
That's Joe Auer. Didn't Joe also win a baseball championship down there one year?
Well, he coached Mike Palfrey as one of his
Yeah.
old
Well, then he
players.
coached at Regina, didn't he?
Yeah, he coached a
Hey,
took
my
a-
He
grandson.
did,
He
right
did
out
a
of,
state-
right out of
state
college.
championship game with his younger brother as the pitcher.
Yeah, right.
That's
brother.
cool. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
again, congratulations and
So
happy
that was
anniversary.
that was my Saturday. But,
Yeah.
Did they have a TV down there?
well, they did, but they didn't at,
Oh, did they? I didn't even know.
out at St. Pat's. We did out at Old Chicago.
they got a
had
bunch
some
of them
TVs. But one of my other brother-in-law and his son are great Giants fans, so we had the Giants and Cardinals game on most of the evening. I
Yeah.
watched some football when I got home,
There were some-
including, I stayed up, having missed football, I stayed up till the Utah-UCLA game was over, on a missed
Yeah.
field goal at the gun.
Yeah.
Utah's got a good team.
They do.
They really do.
Well, and they handled Michigan as,
Got some-
at Michigan as
They've
well.
got some big road wins.
Yeah.
Well, Maryland and Rutgers
Yeah.
showed that they got
Yeah.
some spunk.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
They've
How
surprised the
spunky.
league, I
Yeah,
think.
I thought they were a big surprise.
Yeah,
And
I
that's,
agree.
that's who Iowa travels to next week is
Rutgers
Maryland.
especially.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that I did notice watching Saturday night after we got home, the end of the Michigan State-Nebraska game, was the empty seats in
Oh,
East
yeah.
Lansing.
What'd you say, Pat?
Empty seats
It
Where
is
at,
Lansing.
in East Lansing.
Is that
Really?
right?
Same sort of thing that we're seeing around that we see here.
They had weather problems, didn't they?
They had a
That's
little
true.
rain,
Yeah,
They had rain,
They
that's
did, but-
right.
but their athletic director was critical
Yeah.
of their student fans
He was.
for leaving early.
Said it would never happen again. Now, what he's gonna do about it, I don't
Yeah, what are
know.
you gonna do?
Do what they do at Kinnick in the north end zone and don't open any of the gates.
Well, they'll find a way out. If they
We got all
wanna
these
go.
gates in the north end zone and they won't open them after the game.
Well, they can walk down and get out my gate.
Well, that's,
I'm
they
in the
force
student
all of us
section now,
to,
too, remember?
move like lemmings, either
Yeah.
one direction or the other, all the way to the end, but
But the only one that I noticed is filling their stadium completely is Nebraska.
Yeah, they always have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah.
what else you gonna do?
Did you also notice that Bo Pelini is whining about Michigan State players clapping their hands?
Oh, when his quarterback
Yeah.
claps to set,
They use a clap, as a lot of quarterbacks do.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's
I do,
isn't it? Isn't that a
it would be a penalty if the
It's a
referees,
penalty.
if the referees thought they were trying to interfere with the signals.
Right.
They would throw a flag.
You can't bark out a cadence
Yeah.
when you're on defense like the quarterback does. That's a penalty. And I think I've seen it called
No.
before when they clap.
It has.
The only one that knows that there's complaints is the commissioner, and ask the guy from Iowa State.
Well, let's talk about,
But if there was a team in the Big Ten that's gonna find a way to steal an advantage, wouldn't it be Michigan State?
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Probably.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, but
Yeah.
after going to Purdue
Taking injuries or
last
whatever.
week,
Yeah.
it was terrible. The band would play
Yeah.
at least 30
Yeah.
seconds after the shift.
we heard that on TV.
Oh, did you?
And then they
Okay.
had that, what was that? It was like a car alarm that would go off.
Yes,
When they,
right.
Yeah.
they got a first down, I think?
Yes, and
I
then
had
they
to
blow
keep
that
checking. I
whistle
thought
on that
my
train.
car-
Just as
Yeah.
we're ready to shift, that whistle on that choo-choo train would go
Uh-huh.
off.
Well, not in the Notre Dame game,
Yeah. That was a heck of a game. Notre Dame, Stanford,
That's true, yeah.
Stanford, I think Notre Dame was doing the same thing,
were they?
yes,
I didn't
On
notice that.
defense?
yeah.
Yeah, I think
It
we're smart.
reminded me of the 50th
Following that.
game when the guys fell asleep.
Frank Vericchione?
Well, you talk about all these losses, the upsets this weekend and all the undefeated teams that went down, well, guess what? There's gonna be one team in the Pac-12 that's gonna have one loss, everybody else will have two, except Arizona. Cause UCLA and Oregon play this week, I
Right.
think, don't they? So, these two lost teams, there's gonna be a lot of them, and I don't think there's gonna be any undefeated teams when we get to the end of the season. So you might have one, but you're gonna have one lost teams in those
Who
four
do we
spots
have
are
now?
trying to fill.
That's just what I was trying
I
to
don't think
figure.
we have any now, do we?
Any what?
Undefeated teams?
We don't in the Big Ten.
No,
Everybody's lost at least one.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah,
Mhm. Nebraska was the last one
right.
to be undefeated in the conference, or I mean, in
And
Big
then-
Ten teams, yeah.
Who lost to LSU?
Auburn?
Wisconsin lost to
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
LSU.
and they turn
Beginning of
around
the
and get
season.
smacked. Terrible.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
looking that
They're
good.
not looking that good.
SEC's gonna beat each other up like the Big Ten, I think, the way it's all gonna end up.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit about Jamie Pollard. We were talking about complaining, and he got slapped with a $25,000 fine, the largest ever assessed by the Big 12 Conference. And that was Bob Bowlesby, former
I
Iowa
I
athletic
don't
director.
think he liked him when he was here.
That's
Well,
true.
said
that's
one
what the
time
Iowa
he'd
State
get
fans
even.
are saying.
Yeah,
He-
that's
He
right.
never liked us. So what do you expect?
Yeah,
Well, Jamie Pollard knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah, he had no choice.
His team has suffered, or been on the wrong end of instant replay decisions, been on the wrong end of some bad calls already this season. In fact, dating back to last year when they had Texas at Ames. And he's tired of it, so he spoke out, knowing that, number one, he's going to get fined. And knowing, number two, he's probably not going to look too good. But
Well, he looks awfully good to his coaches,
right,
athletes, and
Fans.
fans.
right.
and knowing number three, it's not coming out of his billfold.
You think? I wondered about that.
Oh, I'm sure the
Oh, I'm
athletic
sure.
department is paying that.
No, they can't.
Yeah, that's what I
They
thought.
can't?
No.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, he's
So
got
he's paying that out of his
he's got to
pocket?
pay it himself.
You know, there's a
Good.
fan someplace.
Somewhere, yeah.
Well,
Otherwise
but
he'll
he's a
get it.
public official and can't take gifts.
He'll get a $25,000 bonus.
Well, how about
it?
his
That's what I
kids?
was-
They could raise his salary.
Couldn't
Yeah.
somebody give him a nice Christmas present?
That's
But
what
anyway,
happens.
as much as I hate
They'll make up
Iowa
for it.
State, I think they had very, very reasons to be upset.
Well, they did, but not what he did. He challenged the credibility of the officials in the Big 12 and the system. And
Yep.
he didn't imply, he is as much as said, without explaining it, I think we've since learned what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But he said that it was retribution because he and Rhodes were the only vote against something the Big
Oh,
12
I
wanted to
didn't,
do.
Yeah, what was
But
that
when the
vote?
referees have to apologize to a team
Yeah,
for
well-
making the wrong call, and then they do it again the next week, I think he had a real good reason.
Well, he did, but he couched it, I think, in the wrong terms by challenging the honesty
Right.
of the Big 12
Well,
officials.
sometimes I wonder,
I mean, mistakes are one thing,
sometimes I wonder.
honesty is quite another. And then, if he was gonna do that, he owed the whole world saying what he was talking about, which he didn't do. He made a very obscure reference to this vote, which it turns out was the vote on whether to add an eighth official.
That's what it was. The eighth official.
They were the only, Iowa State was the only vote against it in the league. And, you know, I don't think that's.
I think that's minor, though.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal, but he was implying that the officials made that call because he and Rhodes were opposed to the eighth
Oh, okay,
official.
well, I don't go for that.
I
But
think
you
that's
have to remember,
irresponsible.
I want one of you on the panel
I think I'd
to
have
tell me
voted
if
with
they
him.
know when a referee's ever had apologized to a team.
Well, the referees don't, but the league does.
No, the referees did.
I thought it was the league.
No, the referees did.
Wow, I didn't know that.
About the bad call, you mean?
About not this one,
Or the week before.
the week
Oh,
before.
okay.
Well, one of the ironies Saturday is this wasn't the officials' bad call, which I think further undercut Pollard's credibility. They called no touchdown.
It was the replay.
It
that-
was the replay
Right.
guy in the
But
booth.
don't you think it's getting to the point, and I've watched so many of these replays, that they're halfway sticking up for some of the referees on them? I've seen it in baseball, I've seen it in everything. Those guys up there don't have the angle the referee down on the field has.
You think there are too many replays now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Too many delays in
I think-
all the games.
And it makes the referees look bad when there's a replay and they reverse it.
Yeah, it does.
It's certainly timeable,
Lengthens the games.
lengthens the game, and there are sometimes they're just terrible, you know.
Right.
There's so many reviews in college
Yes.
football.
Mm.
I mean, every score is reviewed.
Well, how about the Michigan, did that receiver catch that ball and control it? That was a big,
Who were they
end of that
playing?
game against Rutgers.
Rutgers?
Yeah,
Everybody that I saw told me that they thought that he was in bounds and
Yeah.
controlled the ball, and as a result, they were way back. They could have gotten a lot closer to attempt that last field goal that was eventually blocked by Rutgers, but, I mean, that's just an example. How many times have you seen a replay that everybody thinks,
Well,
you
we,
know, should be overturned and isn't, you know?
didn't we see one at Purdue with
There you go, I
Cavante
was just
Martin
gonna bring
Manley's
that
kid.
up.
There you
See,
go.
when I
was
saw
down-
that at
I
full
was
speed,
right down in
I thought he was
front of
out.
I thought he was out.
Yeah.
I was in front of the darn thing, and I told the guys behind, he was out of bounds.
It was a
we come
tremendous
back.
catch when they slowed it down and reviewed it, so.
Which I don't know, they reviewed
Cavante
it.
Martin Manley didn't think it was good.
Well,
I know.
You saw his body language after he caught the ball.
Yes,
He didn't
And
give it a second thought.
No, just
He
walked back
dropped
to the
ball
bench.
and went back to the huddle.
Gary
was-
Dolphin thought it was out on the
Yeah.
radio.
Oh, I think everybody did.
oh, I do too.
I was impressed that they reviewed it
Oh, I was too.
and grateful that they overturned it. That
There was a
was,
couple others I wished he would've reviewed.
Oh, yeah?
But I got
Yeah.
a touchdown.
wasn't it the Mississippi-Alabama game at the very end of the game where Alabama, I think that's the game,
Intercepted the ball.
intercepted in the end zone. To the naked eye, it looked like he was out of bounds.
Right.
But when they replayed it, that defender got hit the tip of his toe. When he caught the ball, only the tip of his toe was down, in bounds. And then everything took him out of bounds. And again, naked eye,
But it was down.
it was down. And they overturned the call on the field, which was,
Right.
out of bounds, incomplete.
Good thing they weren't playing.
And that was the end of the game.
Alabama.
Yeah. That was the end of the game.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. This is, just what you said there, Bob, this is what scares me, these
Yeah.
calls can change a game. To me, that changed the Iowa State game,
Oh, it did.
because if
Yeah,
that score
at the
would've
time.
counted,
Momentum.
that guy wouldn't have went all the way as the second half, these guys were
Right.
done.
Now, at the same time, Bud, in Iowa State made some really bad
Oh, I
plays.
know that, I know that.
Catch a kickoff.
They're the
Goodness.
Yes,
Cyclones.
right.
They're the
And even
Cyclones.
the passing and the running
Yeah.
was terrible. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is when a referee
But it did change the game.
changed the whole part of the game, that's too bad.
There was
Well,
an
here are the Cyclones, 1-4, and who did they beat?
article in the paper about,
Jeez,
All right,
I
now look at
still
Pitt.
can't believe that.
Pitt's 3-3 now. They were
Yeah.
3-0 when we went there.
Who
And
beat them this past week?
Akron,
Yeah, Akron.
Oh, that was the week before.
week before, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who beat them
Did
this
they lose
week?
this week too?
I don't know did they play or were they
Pitt.
an open date or?
No, they played. They lost. They're 3-3.
Oh my.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought they were a pretty darn good team, but maybe they were a little overrated.
Maybe that was wishful thinking.
I guess so. Yeah.
I sure thought they were good.
the press
They sure
citizen
played a
had,
good first half. I'll
They
tell you
did.
that.
They
had
did.
an article about games going too long, especially in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, Pat Hardy wrote that, and I thought it was real interesting. It was about the late starts for high school football games because sophomore games or junior varsity games are played before the varsity on Friday evening, early. And sometimes those games can go forever, and they do. We've
And
had
I
a
got-
Regina
I
game that
got a
started at
reason
8
for it.
o'clock.
I got a reason for it. 2 years ago, they'd start those games at 5 o'clock at night.
Uh-huh.
Now they're starting them at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Now Regina only has 2, but I went to the Cascade and Regina game, and I got home at 10 after 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was 2 games. Now, if there's not 2 games, they start the games at 7. And you do get, even then, you don't get home much before 9:30 and 10.
Yep.
That Cascade game, I was there. I don't think that started before 8:15, did it?
I don't think it did.
No,
Varsity game
no.
seemed later than normal even.
And then think of if one of those games goes into overtime.
Yeah.
Or either one, it's late to bring
Yeah.
those kids
You
up.
know, I like Pat Hardy, and I think he writes real well, but what is left out of that story, that's a very one-sided column from this standpoint. The Press Citizen, now owned by Gannett, has been moving its deadlines
Yep.
up
Oh, yeah.
every year.
That's what I thought.
Paper used to be printed here, used to be owned here,
And you had a midnight
and
deadline.
they used to have 4, 5, 6 people who were writing in
There
the
you
sports
go.
department.
You didn't need to
Now
have a
they're-
deadline
now
because
they're-
you had somebody right there.
Right. Now they've moved the deadline.
Oh, I
It's
know.
10:30.
Yeah.
And it's, or I think it's earlier than that on normal nights. They move it back for football.
Yeah.
But the paper's not printed in Iowa City anymore.
It's printed in Cedar
So-
Rapids, isn't it?
The
It's Des
whining
Moines
about
now.
the late games and press times and not able to interview people is as much as the schools, the game's fault, it's Gannett's fault.
I agree,
Right.
100%. Now, he
Very
did
true.
admit that his deadline is 10:30, and I thought, then move your deadline. I mean, it's not Pat's job, he can't do anything about it, but,
But over at Purdue, I picked up a paper and you picked up that local paper there, and all the high schools, each one of them had headlines, one here, then
Yeah.
they turn it, and one here. I mean, they really covered them and had pictures of every game that was played. They had about 6 games that they covered that night.
And the
Well,
Gazette does a
obviously,
good
Gannett
job,
doesn't
too.
own them.
Right,
Because that does a really nice job.
they really do.
Who?
The Gazette,
Gazette.
Cedar Rapids
They
Gazette.
do, you're right.
They're still staffed up.
You know, there's so many games where nobody shows up,
High school?
yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Oh,
But the Gazette is locally owned, that's the difference.
Yep. And,
So
you
they
know,
do
the
a good
other,
job for that reason.
the other point in his argument, though, was that not just the late starts, but the redistricting and the fact that now teams have to travel great distances. Now, this Friday, Regina has to go to West Marshall, and I was throwing back a couple of beers with Marv and Alex Canellis Friday night after the game, and they
Just a
said that's a
couple?
2-hour bus ride. Yeah,
Wow.
just a couple. I was watching the baseball.
Yeah, it would be Marshall,
Yeah.
it's west of
City
Marshall.
Eye goes to Burlington.
Yeah, they got to go to
But the
Burlington.
one
They've
that-
already been to Ottumwa.
But worse than that,
then
West
Des
Eye
Moines.
had to go to Des Moines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was opening
On a
night.
bus, that'd be a 2.5-hour drive.
Well, and Ames came here.
Yeah, then Ames come
That's
here.
true.
But
That's
you know, on
long
that
ways.
one there, I sort of like, and the reason, I think the teams get a stay.
I
They
don't
go
know
to
if
the
they,
Iowa
I
game.
don't know if they did or
Well,
not.
someone told me that.
Well, that's
Maybe
a
Ames
big
did.
expense if
I-
they did.
That
Well, I
would
think
be-
the schools have done it.
Huh. Well,
I'm not
we
sure,
need to
someone
find that
told me
out.
that.
I do think the redistricting is just nuts.
Well,
I still-
example, where you're going to Marshalltown, or Marv is, we're 9 miles from same class team in another district, West Branch.
Yeah, and we're
Well,
not
makes
playing
sense.
them.
And we're not playing, right.
It's nuts.
It's a big gate, it's a big everything, and we're not playing them.
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
Do you think the officials are well-trained?
The high school football
Yeah,
referees,
yeah. He would know this with his son, but I would like to know, because it seemed like there's 2 conferences that, I don't know if that's the right
You're
word.
saying the right thing.
there aren't enough referees is, I think, the
Well, that's
problem.
another problem, but he's
Yeah.
saying the right thing.
Are they
They're
competent?
hiring anyone.
That's right.
They're hiring anyone now.
Is that right?
Yeah, because
Nobody wants the job.
nobody wants to, like, I think my son went to Des Moines last week.
Yeah, they've,
And that's too
they've,
much for him.
they've got the referees traveling farther than they
right.
used to.
Is that right?
Yes.
And who are you gonna get to do the 7th and 8th grade games?
Well, he doesn't mind that because feels he don't have to be calling things. He can talk to the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
If they're doing something wrong.
He talks like Bob Bowler.
Yeah, well, that's who trained him, right.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it's a
gonna be
problem.
a bigger problem moving forward. I mean, to get these
Oh, I agree
young
with
people
you.
to put on the stripes and officiate,
I agree with you.
yeah,
Well, I've gotta, you know,
been a problem for a while.
I've gotta go to Sigourney Tuesday afternoon for the
Okay,
8th
now
grade game.
Now you're bringing up a good point. Now we're talking varsity. But the same freshmen sophomores have to travel that same team on Monday.
Yep,
That's right.
So
Yep.
they're going twice.
yep. Well, not freshman, sophomore, these are
Well, yours are, but the
7th and
freshmen
8th.
8th grade,
sophomores,
we're 8th grade.
but the freshmen sophomores, if they're not playing, if they don't have a game, they have the game with the team on Monday.
Yep. And we won't get back to Iowa City until probably 8:30 for a 5:30 start. Well, I'll be lucky if I'm back by 8:30. Might be closer to 9
Well,
o'clock.
from Sigourney, you'd be real lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of Pat's arguments in that column was to play the sophomore or JV game, whichever it is on a different date. Well, the trade-off there, I mean, that's a valid point to make, but the trade-off is it costs the schools more
There
to
you go.
play at separate times. You gotta staff up and
Yeah.
all the volunteers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more economical in many respects to do 2 games at once you get the staffing and the volunteers there.
It'd be nice if they started them maybe a half hour earlier.
Well, they did, City High
yeah.
did Thursday night, and I haven't had a chance to see Terry Coleman or John Bacon and ask why. I'm thinking it may have
School
been
night.
because it was on television.
Ah.
And
Yes.
109 needed,
That's
they
right.
wanted the
I
game
think
to
you're
start
right.
at 7:15, rather than sit around and fill time, and the way to be sure it started
Yeah.
when 109 wanted it
Yeah.
to start, is to start the sophomore game
Now
half
you turn
hour
around and
early.
do basketball's worse yet. Cause they don't start at 5:30, they start at 6:30.
Of course, they're shorter.
They're shorter, but it still takes, you go to a doubleheader
Oh, it's a
basketball,
long night.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be 10 o'clock.
It
Long
will be,
night.
yeah.
So if you got 150 miles door, I mean, these conferences are spreading out the same way.
Well, in some schools, and I think Regina is one, maybe there are others locally, are actually trying to play 3 and 4 basketball games the same day, starting
Oh, really?
lower grades.
The good thing about that, Pat,
JV,
the first
boys,
game starts at
girls.
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So the varsity game usually starts about 6.
Right.
That's
But,
the only good thing
You
about
know,
it.
once they open the gym and try to get staffed up, they roll in as much as they can do it.
But
Yeah.
you can only
One
do
set.
that on a Saturday.
Yeah,
Right.
that's when they do it too.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
look at Major League Baseball in the playoffs. Monday night, the Cardinals game started at 8:07.
Well, there are other reasons. Baseball's
Yeah.
got
It's
They
nuts.
need a rule that the batter can't step out of the box. I mean, this stepping out and adjusting your gloves and
Yeah,
your
uh-huh.
shirt and your
Now-
pads.
Now
it's
we're
just
getting back into the
nuts.
money thing.
Yeah,
TV's running it.
but
The Cardinals ain't
They
starting
don't
that
care.
game at 8:07.
they don't
It's
care.
TV.
Major League Baseball doesn't care if the kids can't watch the game. It's about the money. I just read something today that the Los Angeles Dodgers have a TV contract with a cable company out there. It's the only way to pick up Dodgers baseball, and 70% of the market cannot view those games because they don't have this particular cable service. 70%.
Well, that was true
Well,
yesterday, wasn't it,
yeah.
with who played the first game yesterday? The
Well,
Cardinals.
Dodgers and Cardinals.
Yeah.
What network was that on?
That was on Fox Sports 1.
Which is what channel?
No.
On cable, it's 861.
I don't have cable.
Something was on the MLB network.
That was Saturday night. Oh, no, Monday, the Nationals and the Giants game was on the MLB network,
Which
which
are-
nobody gets.
Nobody gets.
Well, that's
You've
the
got to
problem.
subscribe separately, and cable does, Mediacom doesn't even offer
But
the
the-
MLB
but
network
that-
to us.
However, that
Look how
network's
TV
making money
exposure
for the
is killing
teams.
baseball.
Well,
Blackout.
but that's partly because the major networks don't want the baseball games
That's
because
right.
they take too long.
It's not like it used to
They
be.
kill
And they don't draw like football
Right.
draws.
No.
Right.
I had to go
Baseball's
Saturday night.
suffering.
Yeah, Saturday night I had to go to a bar to watch the Cardinals game because, and you had to check first. Number one, to make sure they had the MLB network, and number two, and only DirecTV offers it, and you have to pay extra for it, like everything else.
You do? When
Oh,
you
yeah.
went in the bar?
You gotta subscribe.
No.
Oh.
The bar's gotta subscribe.
Yeah,
You go to the corpse's corner for sure. in
Your
the
beer's
Cardinals game.
50
yeah.
cents.
I knew it could have gone there, but I really
Yeah.
wasn't interested in that so much.
But getting back to this Pat Hardy,
Yeah.
to me, today, he wrote one of the best articles that I've ever seen him write on Kurt Ferentz.
Well,
That was pretty good.
That was really a pretty good article.
yeah.
Today?
And there's
Yeah.
not many college football teams have a guy like Kurt Ferentz that are looking out for them.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yes.
Now, Earl, back to Cardinal baseball for a minute, because I know the Cub fan always wants to change the subject when it comes up to Cardinal baseball. Were you able to watch last night's game?
Yes.
You were. Were you able to watch Monday's game? That was also Fox Sports 1. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Saturday night, I know you weren't.
Nope.
And
I watched one game all the way through,
yeah.
that, last night.
Well,
I thought it was a good game,
oh, I was excited. I wish I could have watched it.
but, I agree with it, this, diddle-daddle around home plate, that the players put up with, you know.
There's a lot of tugging and
Yeah.
yanking and
We're talking about
Scratching.
reviews. In Major League Baseball, it's just silly. The manager, if he wants a review, charges out of the dugout, walks as slow as he can out to the umpire,
Yeah.
then turns around and looks back in the dugout
Yep.
for somebody to signal to him whether he really wants to challenge the call and
Yeah.
have it reviewed.
Yeah.
Well, that's, just
Yeah.
kills the
Yes,
They're all
speed of the
that way.
game.
Yeah.
Those referees come over and get a hold of the phone, and it's taking them so long to
And then somebody brings out a portable
yeah, right.
monitor,
That's right.
television monitor, and it's got to be covered because lights reflect and make it hard to see.
And then you have to get the other umpires over to say,
Yeah.
what's it, you know,
What do you think? I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think? I don't know. What do you think? I think he's out.
We're gonna tip a few beers.
And at that
tonight.
point, it doesn't matter what the umpires think, because some guy sitting behind a screen in New York is gonna make the call.
For baseball and
oh, yes, I didn't
And the
realize.
NFL.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's back in New York where
That's
those.
terrible.
It's not even upstairs.
It got me to thinking last night. There's going to come a day when there aren't any umpires.
Well, the Big Ten Network has quit sending announcers to the women's basketball games
Yeah.
about half the time.
Yeah.
They have their announcers in the studio in Chicago
Oh, you're
watching.
kidding.
Yeah,
No,
they did that last year.
watching the game on TV.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's terrible.
It saves them money.
You know, I'm fed up with that network too.
Which
School
network?
like Iowa and
Big
Ten?
Indiana, yeah, they don't get any coverage.
What are they
Michigan's
doing
been
showing
on.
volleyball on Saturday during
right, I
football
know.
season? How can they not have a game?
That's
I don't know,
ridiculous.
I turned, I, like many other people, I turned
Yeah.
to, the right station,
Volleyball.
and volleyball comes on.
Was it
Yeah.
It was
2 years ago, the last time we were at Penn State? The TV listing said Iowa at Penn State. Even they listed college football, Iowa at Penn State, Big Ten Network. Well, it turned out it was volleyball.
Yeah, no, I know, I remember that.
I do.
But you get back to that, the network we're on, we've been on more than any other team in the Big Ten,
On what?
on that E ESPNU.
Oh,
Because
Yeah.
people don't get it.
Yeah, you're right.
no. Well, there's a
So
reason.
if there's not a punishment, then what's the reason?
We have fewer television sets. We have fewer people watching the Hawkeyes
So why
than
don't
any
they
other
come out
school.
and tell us that?
Why? That'd be public relations nightmare. I'm not disagreeing with you, bud. I'm just saying here's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to come out and say, "Sorry, Iowa, but you suck."
Well, we don't suck any more than Indiana or those other schools either. Northwestern, they don't have 10,000 fans in their stands. So
Well,
you
there's a
mean-
reason Iowa and Indiana are on E ESPNU this week because we have the fewest number of television sets
Okay,
out of
so
all
you-
these big
I
Ten
agree with
schools.
that argument.
we don't
except
get a fair shake then.
Right.
Why is Nebraska on
Yeah.
primetime, nighttime games this fall? 3 times, is it, or
3
4?
times already.
And we're on 0.
And they're gonna be 4
And
because
their
you know the Iowa
population
game's
is
on.
less than our state.
Right.
Okay, so.
But they have
I
more
get the
viewers.
argument, but,
They have more viewers.
uh,
They draw, yeah, whenever Nebraska's on, they're going to draw more than just Nebraska fans. See, Iowa's not going to draw many more than Iowa fans to watch them.
In
Nebraska,
Chicago area,
bigger
they're not-
brand.
They all come to the
I don't know
ball
if I
game.
buy into that.
I don't either.
it's true.
I
It's
don't buy
true.
Well, not as many. Nebraska, when they played at Northwestern, the stadium was almost full
Almost.
with 30 to 40,000 Nebraska
Nebraska.
fans.
Well, that's
Now-
because they follow
Because
their
they
team
come.
better than
Now,
everybody.
we certainly travel well to Northwestern, but we don't
We don't
fill
do
the
that.
stadium.
Nope.
Boy,
So,
No, but it's their fans.
Nebraska,
Nebraska.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
yeah.
a fan's a fan.
Yeah.
It is, but you're talking about a 20 or 30,000 number that travels to the game, and one reason they're traveling to the games right now also is because Big Ten's brand new to them. They want to see all these stadiums at Iowa,
Yeah.
Northwestern, and places they haven't been because they've been in the Big 12 for,
We,
100
we,
years.
we,
so.
we hardly ever see numbers that would illustrate this, but in the terms of television ratings, ABC and ESPN, when they keep track of ratings for teams that are on, we don't show up as well as Nebraska.
We don't.
They would much rather televise Nebraska than they would us.
That's
There's
why
more-
they're in the
more
primetime
people
games.
watch.
Yeah. Simple
I
as
mean,
that.
that's proven by the ratings.
That's right. And that's what I was trying to say, Bud. There are just more households,
Well, this Big
That'll
Ten,
watch that than
who owns
us.
this Big Ten network?
the Big Ten,
Fox and the Big Ten own it together.
Right,
Fox
like a 50-50
TV.
deal, or
Yeah.
51.
It's 51-49,
49%.
yeah.
Is
But
that
do we
right?
have a say in it?
Yeah,
Just
We meaning
because we
who?
don't draw as much, do we have a say in it?
No,
So
I
we're
suppose
being
our-
punished as a big, so you guys are telling me this, we don't have a say because we're the smallest school in the Big Ten.
in essence, yes.
well, we have a say
But you're not gonna get anywhere.
through the Big Ten, through Jim Delaney.
But Gary Barta would be representing us, I'm sure, in those arguments, and
I think Rick Klatt is our liaison.
Well,
to
that's
the
is
Big
that
Ten.
who it is? Okay.
Well, you don't have to answer any more questions.
I'm not gonna say anything, but it.
But do you see
It's
what I
a
mean?
catastrophe.
A lot of people aren't gonna see Iowa Saturday.
Yeah. Earl won't see it.
It did the week before.
Yeah, that's right.
You
I'll
know,
be there.
You're going to the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
see, you go
going
on
to the
with
game?
that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that, I said over there at Purdue, and I'll swear we had more fans than they, we probably did because they couldn't count it. But our section was, and I've talked to more people from Illinois at the Iowa game because they went to school at Iowa. So it was a short drive for them. So I mean, we draw pretty good. I don't care what
We
they
draw
say about
very
it.
well as far as fans going to the away games. We always have, well, since Hayden, we just have. But it all comes down to TV sets. And a couple our state's population with the lack of interest outside the state in Iowa football or basketball.
Well, the Iowa, not Maryland,
Yeah,
That's next week.
we don't know yet what.
What time or what network?
No, yes, we do. It's on ESPN2,
is,
Oh.
but
11 o'clock
where at?
At Maryland.
at Maryland.
Okay.
Again on ESPN.
Two.
How far is that
Okay,
from,
that's good.
who plays in New York?
Rutgers plays in
Rutgers.
Piscataway, which
New
is
Jersey.
a little bit south of Manhattan.
Yeah.
But going back to Bud's argument, a third of the students who go to the undergraduate here at Iowa are from Illinois. So a lot of those people resettle back in the Chicago area where they're from, and that's where Bud was coming from.
Yeah,
with
they come.
The interest in
'Cause they
the
tailgated with
Chicago
us.
area is big time.
They'll go to Madison. They'll go to
Well, they'll watch it
Northwestern,
on TV
Purdue,
too if they
Bloomington,
don't go,
East Lansing,
There you
Ann
go. Bob
Arbor.
brought up a point. They will watch it on TV if they
You know,
can.
more and more
Not on
people are,
ESPN
more and more
U,
people are
but-
doing
Oh,
it.
that's right, they won't
But
get you.
here's another consideration, which is an honest assessment of, we'll
Okay.
take the Iowa-Purdue game. If you were not a fan of Iowa or Purdue, you'd have switched to another game in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, it
That's
was,
because of
it
how
was-
boring it was.
it was just downright boring.
Yeah.
If
Well, I've
you
seen a
weren't-
lot of games boring. I haven't seen an excited game with Michigan yet.
Unless you're
Well,
pulling
Rutgers
against
was pretty
Michigan.
exciting.
Yeah,
That was a pretty good
that was
game.
exciting.
Yeah.
Rutgers and
They
Maryland
surprised
will
me.
make a difference this year.
Here's an interesting new facet to the Maryland game is now the Orioles and the Royals, if there's a game 6 and 7, they'll be playing in Baltimore that same weekend.
Is
Good
that right?
point.
If there's a game 6 and 7.
And that's not too horribly far from College Park.
The way the Royals are going, there won't be a game 6 or 7.
But that would be bad for the,
Well, it certainly overloads the hotels.
No
I
kidding.
think there are a lot of
Yeah.
people going to the Maryland game from here.
Oh, there are.
But
Well, I
they're
don't know if
already
there are
locked
now.
in.
Why do you say that?
They
because
should
I
be.
called for tickets and I was
Yeah.
worried because I wasn't sure if I was going to, Pam said, we got a lot of tickets. So we're not sold all our.
A lot of Maryland tickets.
Well, yeah, but if you're
Not
smart,
a
you don't
lot.
buy, I hate to say this, but if you're smart and you want to travel to an away Hawkeye football game, you don't buy the tickets through the Hawkeye ticket
Go
office.
through
Oh, I
StubHub.
do, I wanna sit by the
Yeah, but,
Iowa fans.
if
I
you
don't
want
wanna
a
be
decent
stuck
seat,
over. I
and
wanna
maybe
be-
not pay as much.
I just soon pay more and sit with the Iowa fans
Oh, I
and sit
get that.
across the way.
Well,
I
That's
get that.
that's a consideration. But you can get far better seats.
So you're gonna go to College Park?
No, I
You're not
can't say
going?
that. No, I don't think so. It's
Oh,
too
you'll go.
expensive.
It's a long way.
Way too.
That's a 2-day drive.
Now, if I win the lottery on Saturday or Wednesday night, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
DC's an expensive area.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very expensive.
Now, I think
Not to
Terry
mention the
Tiggett has a
traffic.
good plane going.
Does he?
Well, his is,
I hope it's not a bad
$1,800,
plane.
and that's 3 nights in the hotels.
3 nights?
3 nights, Thursday, they're leaving Thursday.
Wow.
There must be a little tour of the
What's the cost?
area.
1,800 for 2.
Is it sold out?
I don't know. I didn't get mine.
Well, we do have a Hawkeye game to talk about. I've got a few statistics. Hawks are 4-1. Indiana is 3-2. We know they've beaten Missouri, and that's impressive. They've got a pretty significant running back, one of the top 3 in the Big Ten so far. I think the article in the paper today said he has, I want to say 11 rushes of 40 yards or more.
He's good, he's fast.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
tried to recruit him,
Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Tinley-
and Gordon from Wisconsin.
Tinley
those
Park,
two.
Illinois. Well, Gordon was
He
committed,
committed.
I know.
Yeah.
as is David Kinney, who's a sophomore defensive end for Indiana,
Yep.
committed to us.
Yep. And then his dad was coaching at Indiana.
But I don't think he is anymore.
He's not, and Kinney's not on the roster anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
he's
No,
not.
I think he has left the team.
Wow.
Oh,
I just
really?
read a discussion about that this
Yeah.
week.
Well, this
Any
Coleman's
reason-
averaging
any reason why?
196 yards a game.
Maybe he'll
rushing.
transfer here.
Maybe
Maybe we don't want him.
that may be too.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
let's see. Iowa holds a 42-28 losses and 4 tie advantage in this series.
Yep.
The first game was in 1912 when Iowa won 13-6. So Indiana's been playing Iowa in football for over 100 years. The Hawkeyes won 4 consecutive meetings before losing 24-21 at Indiana in 2012. Iowa has won 18 of the last 27 games, including 7 of the last 10. The Hawkeyes are 23-10 with 3 ties all-time against the Hoosiers in Iowa City. Indiana won 38-20 the last time the Hoosiers visited Iowa City on homecoming, which was 2007. That was when they had that really fast scat back quarterback,
Very good.
Randall L.
Antoine Randall L. Thank you, Pat. Yeah, you got a
Boy,
great
he
memory.
was good.
38-20. That was a homecoming loss 7 years ago to the Hoosiers. What is a Hoosier anyway?
It's a person who thought to live in the southern part of Indiana.
Now, growing up, I used to canoe in Missouri.
Something like the West Virginia Mountaineer.
Yeah. When
Somebody that's kind of lost out in the woods.
So you mean if I go on vacation, I go down that southern, I can see a Hoosier?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
too.
probably
Can
can
you?
if you take the back
Okay.
road.
back in the day, when I
Look for
used to,
somebody dressed in red and white.
So we could be called Amish up here.
Amish?
They'd all go
Well-
down there to see them.
When I was canoeing as a young man in Missouri, down in southern Missouri, we'd go down every year, and Hoosier in Missouri is used as a derogatory name. Don't look at me, I ain't no Hoosier. Well, what, Hoosier? Man, what are you talking about?
That's that state up north of Missouri there. They apparently don't get along.
I don't,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
it's a derogatory term elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know
We
what
learn
the heck.
something every day.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting little tidbit. And the Hawkeyes have played 48 consecutive games without a missed or blocked point after touchdown. 48 consecutive games. That is the longest streak of any school in the nation.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They told us that.
Yeah. So I already jinxed them with the Indiana homecoming loss
You're going
7
pretty
years
deep
ago.
for those statistics.
I just look at
Yeah.
what the athletic
Is that in the
department
game
puts out.
notes?
Yeah, it is. And I thought that was an interesting
Okay.
one. I had no idea
Yeah.
that we haven't missed
Who do you
or
suppose
had
keep
blocked.
tracks of that? Keeps track of who?
You know, what about field goals?
Oh, no.
Let's not go there.
Not on your
That is not on there.
But Marshall Kane leads the country
Mm-hmm.
in kickoffs for
Yeah.
touchbacks.
And he has the
Number
longest.
one in the country.
Yeah,
Is that right?
and he has the longest field goal so far this year in the Big Ten.
Right,
He's got a good leg.
Yeah, he's coming around.
and that could've went further than
is.
that, 52 yards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had 6
Uh,
to 8 yards more to go.
I'm still trying to figure out what year he is in eligibility.
Junior,
Okay.
Marshall Kane is.
yeah.
That's what I was
He's
hoping.
only got one more year?
Yeah.
Golly, I thought he was a freshman or sophomore.
Nope.
No, he's been behind Mike Meyer
Oh, I'll be
for,
darned.
since his true freshman year.
During this 48 consecutive game streak, Iowa has converted 137 consecutive point after touchdowns. Jinx?
No, I
Probably.
don't think so.
I think only baseball players are superstitious.
Oh, no.
This is also a black and gold spirit game. So we've been asked to wear black if we're sitting in the, I gotta get this straight.
Even.
No,
Odd.
black is odd,
Odd sections.
gold is even.
There we
So,
go.
dress accordingly.
You know, I think the fans maybe are getting a little weary of this.
I do too. I got a black
am.
and a gold shirt, and I'm gonna wear that. Because I reach over and
You're half and half.
I haven't.
That's a good idea. Get a half and half, you don't have to worry about it. Have one custom made, buddy.
Well, let's talk.
Reversible.
We should talk a little bit about the offense and the defense. The defense continues to improve each week.
Yeah.
Although I think it needs to be said that to this point the opponents have not been very stellar.
Well, yeah, Pittsburgh.
Pitt, well, they're 3-3. They've lost,
They're not as
Yeah.
good as we thought they were.
I don't
That's
think.
right.
Okay.
And you
Well,
know,
go down the schedule of every Big Ten team.
but the ones we
Indiana is
played,
a good example. The team that beat them in the MAC conference got beat the other day 55-7 or something
really,
against another MAC team.
really.
So, I mean, I don't like to say that we don't play anyone. They don't play anyone.
I didn't say we haven't played anyone. I simply said that the opponents we played to date, UNI, Ball State, Iowa State, Pitt, Purdue, and is that it? That's
Well,
it.
guys,
That's
every
it.
one of those teams except Pittsburgh has a losing record.
And Pittsburgh's lost
And
3
they're
in a row.
3-3.
You and I don't have a losing
They're
record.
2-3, buddy. They lost last weekend. They
Yeah.
were 2-2 going into that.
They're just not. They're not stellar opponents. So,
No.
and that's not to put down the Iowa defense because, again, I think it's pretty clear. Each game, the defense has improved. They've stepped up their game. They have got one of the best run defenses in the country to date.
You got a good coach.
And who? Iowa or the defense? Phil Parker. Yep.
Defense- No, the line coach.
Oh, Reese Morgan.
Yes.
They do.
You know, I would think that, I think that Iowa really steps it up when they have a stellar running back coming in, like they did with Gordon at Wisconsin last year. Well, the last time we played them, and the exception would be that back with Pittsburgh had a very good first half, but I think our defensive coordinator always does a pretty good job of stopping
Yeah, he
that
does.
guy that's been averaging 100 or
And making
150.
halftime adjustments too.
Yeah, and I think we can take care of that rushing attack to a certain degree.
This will be a real test
Yeah.
Yeah.
for our defensive ends and linebackers.
Yeah.
Because this guy can run outside.
See,
Yeah.
that guy from Wisconsin, we stood him up last year.
Gordon.
Gordon, yeah.
Yeah,
But
We're gonna get another chance.
Yeah, I
He
know.
gained 250 some yards.
And lost.
And
And
lost.
lost,
yeah.
and lost.
how do you do that?
Against Northwestern, yeah,
And
unbelievable.
speaking of statistical anomalies, Washington State's quarterback, whose name I don't have any idea, passed for over 700 yards, and they
And lost.
They lost 60-59.
And did you see they fired their special teams coach
Yeah.
after the game?
They did.
They missed a chip shot field goal to win it with 19 seconds left or
Oh,
something.
it's brutal out
And they
there.
had two runbacks, didn't
Yeah.
they? One a
That's what I
kickoff and
mean,
one
I
a punt
don't-
return.
There's not a, this is the first year in a long time that I can sit here and say there's not a team that can't get beat.
You're right.
Oh,
I
I think
agree with
that,
that.
I think
You're
that's
right.
right.
Yeah.
Talking about Indiana's staff, which I thought you were, but you weren't. Billy Innes-Enge is their co-defensive coordinator.
I forgot all about
An
that.
Iowa guy.
Oh, yeah.
Played defensive end for us.
We remember him.
He was a good ball player.
He coached here as well.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
And at UNI.
that's right. That's right. Did he also work at Notre Dame, or for another former Iowa player coaching in
Well,
college?
that was Bobby. The
Diaco.
white line, Diaco.
Yeah, but I was
Coach at
thinking
Notre
Bill
Dame.
Innes-Enge was in there for a year or two.
Right.
Okay, could have been.
Um,
So was Frank Verducci.
That's
He's at
right.
UNI now.
Yeah.
Say Bump Elliott got honored, which was nice.
Yeah.
He's 89 now. I thought that the article was,
You saw that article. I'm sure John shared that with you. It was really nice. I shared it with Pat.
Was
oh, you did?
And I gave a copy to Bump.
Oh,
There,
okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but John came up with a copy of it to Bump, and
I
then
didn't
somebody else that was sitting with your group on Monday
I didn't notice.
came up, not only gave him a copy, but had another copy and asked him to autograph it,
Oh, really?
which I thought was really sweet.
So it was an article from where?
It was from a Michigan sports writer, and
We were having trouble figuring out
was it a
what it
TV
was
station?
from the printout, but it was about that
No, it was Comcast Sports, wasn't it?
64 Rose Bowl team had its
Yeah.
reunion.
Okay.
They had a 50th reunion, 50th anniversary reunion of the Michigan football team that went to the Rose Bowl
Yes.
that year, coached by Bump Elliott. And a sports writer wrote a story about Bump and his brother Pete, as well as Pete's son, and just had a lot of nice things to say about Bump and a lot of nice things to say about his brother Pete. And
Where's the son?
Pete's son, I don't know. I don't know that it's said where he lives, but they had a picture of he and Bump together because Pete died a couple of years ago.
And he was a former coach at the University
Right.
of Illinois, right?
Right.
Pete was?
Pete
Well,
was
and-
at Illinois and Bump was at Michigan.
Yeah.
He coached the California team that we beat in the '59 Rose Bowl.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
My dad used to always tell the story at the dinner table about Pete and Bump. Their mom, when Michigan would come to Illinois for the football game, their mom would sit on one side of the stadium for the first half, and then go sit on the other side of the stadium with those fans for the second half. And Pete or
What's her record?
who?
The mom.
The mom, I don't know. That's a good question. One of the things that came out of this story that a lot of people didn't know is that Pete Elliott, who at the time was an athletic director for the University of Miami, suggested to Bump that he consider hiring Hayden Fry for the vacant football coach's position because Pete had wanted to hire him, but for whatever reason, Miami chose not to. And Bump said in this article that if Pete hadn't have said that, he says, I don't think I would have ever thought of Hayden Fry.
Wow. The rest is history.
Got to give a lot of credit to
right.
Pete
That's
for
right.
Yeah.
looking after his brother.
That's right. And speaking of, who did Dan McCarney's team play?
North Texas State.
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah,
Indiana.
Indiana
they got whomped.
beat them bad.
No, they've been getting whomped.
49 to 24, I
I'm
believe, Indiana.
getting worried about Dan's job.
Yeah.
And-
But Dan's not too well, you know. He had a,
yeah.
Yeah.
so I mean,
And they're coming to Iowa City next year,
That's
Is that right?
North Texas.
oh,
Yeah.
are they really?
2 out of the next 3 years, they come to Iowa City.
Oh my, that's going to be
Next year's
interesting.
the first.
Coming to his
I
hometown.
hope Dan is still coaching.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because if you go back and look,
Well, he had a
Iowa
pretty
State
good year last year.
used
Yeah.
to beating us when Dan was there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, he had a good record against us.
We should talk a little bit about high school football. Last week, West High entertained #1 ranked Bettendorf and lost a nail biter. Oh, it was a
Oh,
good
yeah.
game. In fact, West High should have won.
What a comeback.
They had a great comeback and lost it in overtime on a 2-point conversion. It's just too bad. West High is, what are they, 3-3 now?
Yes.
The teams they've lost to, I mean, at the time, was it Dowling, the first game of the year they went to?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't know if it was Dowling or the
Oh, it
other
was
one.
Valley. wasn't it?
Valley.
Valley, yeah, I think
Valley
it
was
was
ranked
Valley.
#1 at the
West Des
time,
Moines Valley, yeah.
and West gave them a good game. Bettendorf was ranked #1 at the time, and again, West gave them a good game. Maybe the best game that Bettendorf has had to play this year so far.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
In Washington.
West still has a good chance to.
And Washington was one of the top 5 in the
Still, yeah.
state. So they're going to be
Now,
all
but
right.
is that their district?
Yeah,
Not those
not
Des
Des Moines.
or the Bettendorf?
Well, City High played Bettendorf too.
Yeah, Bettendorf's in City Eyes did.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yeah. This Friday, West High goes to, where am I, what camera?
Burlington?
That camera. They're going to Dubuque Hempstead.
Okay.
West High is at Dubuque Hempstead. City High won their first game of the year and beat Cedar Rapids Prairie. And this week, they are going to travel to Burlington. That's where they go.
Okay.
And Burlington's a good hour.
Oh, yeah, an hour and
More than
20
that.
minutes.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is one of, we're talking about the district system, with the advent of the district system into 4A football and the demise of Mississippi Valley as a football conference. City High can still make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
At they're 1-5.
Yeah.
But they've still got a shot at the playoffs.
That's right. Last year, there was 3 teams that had losing records that got into the playoffs.
Yeah, just doesn't make sense.
City High could finish 3-6 and be in the playoffs,
Right.
probably.
And look at the old days, you know, the Des Moines Register had a great story about a small school over in the west central part of the state. I can't think of the name of the school now. But they won the state title the year before, undefeated. The next year, undefeated, and romped over everybody, and they didn't get into the state tournament. 50
But they
years
didn't
ago,
lose any games?
1964. Didn't lose any,
Oh,
whomped
I'd have to
everybody.
see that.
Yeah, it was in Sunday's Des Moines Register. Neat story, and they had a reunion. Their coach is still alive. He was a young guy. You know, I take it back. It was 40 years ago, 74, not 64.
That's about when they started the playoffs,
Right.
actually.
Yeah,
Right in
When?
that,
it's about 74.
before that, it was all mythical state champion.
Regina just walloped Columbus, formerly known as Columbus Junction. It was just,
5 minutes.
it was unbelievable.
5 minutes
The
they
first-
had to
no,
clock it.
Yeah.
No, the first 5 seconds.
You don't want to be late if you want to see Regina's starters. You need to be sure and be in your
That's right.
seat by the
Speaking
kickoff.
That was a cold, windy night too, boy.
That second string quarterback did pretty
He
good.
looked all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a lot of
He's
playing
a good
time.
athlete,
Is he okay?
Nate Stinger. Well, he starts as point guard for their
Okay,
basketball.
Yeah.
that's right. I know who you mean now.
So as we mentioned earlier, Regina will travel to West Marshall in Marshalltown, is it?
No, west of
Somewhere
Marshall.
west of
That's why they
Marshalltown.
call it west.
I see, okay, so that's Friday night. Before we sign off, Bud has a little something that he wants to do here, now, at the end of our show, for Earl and Louise. So, little surprise for Earl, he wasn't expecting this. And
Come on,
Louise, if
Earl.
you're watching, this is for you too.
Come
It is homecoming,
Homecoming.
it's
And if
homecoming,
you can't
Hawkeye
make the
homecoming.
parade, it's on TV, on the University Channel.
Oh,
And that's
boy.
where Louise,
Let me have the other one here.
and here's yours, you got
Let's hold those
Hawkeye
up,
on
Joe.
And I want you to make sure you take the arrangements, there's a big mom in there that says.
Okay.
Homecoming mom and homecoming boutonniere
Yeah.
for Earl and Louise Murphy. You can get these at Supple's Flowers. They specialize in them. It's a tradition, and they're really kind of beautiful. I've ordered them before for my mom and the women in my family. So congratulations, Earl,
We've
and
had one of the-
congratulations,
We've
Louise.
had
I'll
one
set
of the
this
best
one right here.
bosses there is.
Yes.
Really,
That's
no, I
right.
mean it, Earl.
Yeah.
The show wouldn't be going on and on and on and on if. you
This
weren't
is
around.
the longest running public access TV show in
How
Iowa
many
City.
years?
Well, we're going to say at least 25.
Yeah, I thought it was 30. But
It might be.
I think it is 30.
It might
Because I
be.
remember
I think
watching
that's
it.
25, 1980, I thought we started.
Whose idea was it? How did you get started?
Well, we were eating,
Joe? Yeah, we don't have time.
All right.
We'll
Let's
save
do
that.
it. Let's
Save
do it.
that one,
A lot of people ask me, let's do it next.
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
We'll talk about how we got started next week when we come back to Sports Opinion, which you've been watching every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18. You can also see a replay on Sundays at 6 p.m., again on Channel 18. That's public access TV. If you don't have cable TV or you missed the show, you can always go to PATV.TV. That's the website, and they'll have our show on there. Or you can always go to my Facebook page or Pat White's Facebook page, because I put it up on his page too.
Can also watch it at 4 a.m.
Oh,
It was on the
Really?
morning.
I've seen it a couple nights on Tuesday.
Okay.
filler. We're a good filler program.
We must-
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, and remember this. Either you're a Hawk or you're not. Happy homecoming. Go Hawks. Beat the Hosers.
Amen.